Alabama set to take on South Carolina, and it has been really a crazy week around the football facility. But Alabama trying to get that ship righted to take on the Gamecocks in Tuscaloosa and get back to their winning ways. We're going to talk about that and more right here on the Bama Tailgate YouTube channel. Like and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. And let's get this party started, everybody, with a big morning edition. Roll Tide. All right, there he is, big sexy Elmo. Brett Elmore in the house, WJLX Radio, Jasper, Walker County. I'm just Mick Gillespie here hanging out like always.
What's up, it's good to see you, Mick. Jasper's going to be on that SEC show where they do the food and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
What's it called? SEC. I don't know. But anyway, I think it's coming up later in the month, like on a Tuesday night.
Mm-hmm.
But it features some of the restaurants here in Jasper. I thought it was really cool.
That's cool, man. That is really cool. And it's too bad that our buddy Bull and his famous steakhouse are gone now because
he was lining up to try to be on that show before he passed away. So
yeah, gotta miss that guy, man. Miss that guy. Let's talk Bama. It's been a rough week. Obviously, we lost to Vanderbilt, and then a lot of blowback from Malachi Moore. He apologized. I think the guys owed a mulligan. I think that the former players that jumped up and were kind of like, "Hey, this isn't acceptable." I commend them for that, and I think everybody's kind of like past it now.
Yep.
Coach DeBoer kind of showed his style. He's not going to scream. He's not going to talk bad about any of the players in public. Who knows what happened behind the scenes? But at the end of the day, I think that Alabama's ready to move forward and start to just, hey, let's forget about this and let's get focused on South Carolina and try to get a W and try to get things figured out on the defensive side of the football.
That's all you can do. I mean, let's forget the Vanderbilt game. Let's just scratch it. I mean, people are tired of really talking about it and hearing about it. Let's scratch it. But are you of the opinion that maybe I need to be Coach DeBoer's stylist? People were jumping on him for wearing the T-shirt, and I understand it. I mean, you look at former coaches and how they dressed and the whole 9 yards. But I mean, didn't he dress the same way for the Georgia game?
I don't even know. You don't notice when you win.
Exactly.
When you lose.
It's like, well, But I mean, if Coach is watching, look, I'll come down, pick out your outfits. But I think that's so ridiculous. I don't care what the guy's wearing as long as he's winning. Now, I did hear. I was reading yesterday. And wait a minute before I get started, I want to since we're early in the morning here, the hurricane has hit Florida this morning. Thoughts and prayers to all the Bama fans and everyone down there. Who's in the path of this. It's a very destructive storm. So first of all, I just want to say my thoughts and prayers are with you. But anyway, I was reading yesterday where some of the players were talking about Coach DeBoer's demeanor has changed during practice this week.
Really?
Did you hear anything about that?
Tell me more about this.
There was a story that was published, and I believe it was on AL.com, if I'm not mistaken. But they were talking about his demeanor has changed just a little bit. He's a little more enthusiastic, I guess. And that's kind of what we need to see from him. Look, I don't care what your demeanor is as long as you win. Mm-hmm. We've given this guy a pass on, he's not Nick Saban, and people bash me on the comment section about quit talking about Nick Saban. Well, look, the standard was set. You can't help it as a Bama fan to compare it. You just can't. You can't help but compare. But, I think the guy will come out with a collared shirt on Saturday and we're going to win the ball game. But I also read that South Carolina's quarterback kind of give them some worries in the film room.
Yeah, well, look, anytime you have the dual threat guys that throw the ball a little bit, I mean, you're going to struggle. That's why they're good. But Bama's defense is just going to have to do a better job of controlling the run and making plays. And, that's just kind of where we are right now. I think that they're going to be okay. I mean, but they played a great game against LSU. They didn't win. They didn't look good. They killed Kentucky, looked good against them. Didn't look good. The next game. I mean, they're kind of inconsistent, but they're dangerous because when they put it together, they're a tough team.
And I don't want to be a disaster theorist here. What happens? Let me ask you this:
if they lose again,
what happens if Alabama loses this game against South Carolina?
I mean, then if they lose this game, I mean, you have to admit that things are, the dynasty's done right now. I mean, it's going to have to build a new one. It's not a continuation. I mean, losing to Vanderbilt's an awful loss, even though I don't think it's the same Vanderbilt that we saw in the past. But you tack on a loss to these guys.
You don't lose to Vanderbilt. That's the thing.
Right.
You just don't.
But you tack on this, and all of a sudden you're talking about some real big issues, man. I mean, big issues. So I do think every game's a must win. It used to be like that in college football with the playoff, it's changed a little bit, but this is definitely a must win. I'm sure DeBoer's looking at it like, hey, we got to get, like you said, he's got to bring a little more enthusiasm to the table, get after it pretty hard, get these guys back on track. I've always loved his positivity. He's had one setback since he's been Alabama's coach. He's done everything else perfectly. So, right. I mean, we can't throw the guy out, it's just one of those things where it's got to make a lot of noise, the crowd, and get this team back on track again, get him some confidence.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, these morons wanting to call for his head. I mean, you're a bunch of dumbasses, okay?
You are. And for those of you that defended Malachi Moore, get out of here, man. Like, look, we're all on his side, but I mean, you can't act like that.
You can't act.
There's no comparison to that. That's like I'm reading these comments from not on here, but on Twitter where they're going after Damian Harris and Mike Johnson and whoever else. It's like, look, be glad that somebody cares enough about this program to step up and say that shit ain't acceptable. And exactly. We're not going to have that. And Malachi Moore's going to play one more year. He's got 8 games left in the playoffs or whatever. He's going to walk away. The program's still going to be here. So you have to have a standard. And the standard needs to be up here. And the fact that former players care enough about him first and the program to say something is just like, look, we're not going to have this. It's going to be like Auburn. I mean, think about the times you play Auburn and they're cheap shotting your quarterback and slamming his head, and all that stuff. DeBoer is taking a risk by basically kind of just taking up for him. And I hope it pays off, man. I hope Malachi Moore comes out and kills it. But you feel like this program right now, if they lose, all this stuff blows up. I mean, if they win, hey, it worked.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, the honeymoon is over. The honeymoon phase is over for Kalen DeBoer. He's gotten a big dose of reality about how the Alabama standard is. And I think he kind of understood it when he came in, or at least he had to understand it when he came in. I mean, you have to understand it. You're following a guy that's set the standard. You lose to Vanderbilt.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty bad. The honeymoon's over. We got to go out Saturday, Mick, and it's I know you like the early games. I don't like them.
Love them. If I'm them, I'm wanting to get back on the field, Brett. I'm wanting them. I'm wanting to get back out there as soon as I can and get back to playing the type of football that we know we can play.
And I think we will. Being at home, this is a great opportunity for us to come out, and show what we're made of, and then let's move forward, man. That's what it's all about. Redemption, resiliency, and let's come out and play well and play Alabama football, because what we saw Saturday was not Alabama football.
That's right.
But there you go.
DeBoer talked at his or at the SEC Wednesday. What do they call that? The teleconference. And he talked about injuries. He mentioned a couple of guys who were practicing that Alabama's going to need: Kendrick Law and Kobe Prentice, two of their the Bama wide receivers and two of the best players. Said that both of them are going through workouts on track. So hopefully both of those guys will be out there. Yanze Pierre not going to play this weekend with his injury. Didn't really get into that. He said that Malachi Moore would start on Saturday. He said that they handled everything internally, and he credited Malachi Moore for being extremely strong with everything that he came forward with. And I think Malachi put a lot of this on himself, probably realized when, after the heat of the battle that, hey man, I handled it the wrong way. And then he talked about a couple of days ago that Kane Womack has been slow to get the plays out there. This is something that we encountered last year when T-Rob, the guy that ended up over at Georgia, but not with Caleb Downs, by the way. But he talked about, getting the plays out and getting them out faster. And that was an issue that they had last year. And then they kind of streamlined it through Robinson. And so, Bama got better at that. So those are some things to look at. Now, before you come on, let me remind everybody a couple things. We're brought to you by Pearl River Resort over in Philadelphia, Mississippi. Make sure you check it out right now. Timeout Sports Lounge. When you go in there and play $50 at the Golden Moon Casino Sportsbook, you can go out and play Dancing Rabbit Golf Course for just $40. And I'm hearing from some of you guys that are telling me that you love it out there, that it's worth the trip, and that you're having a fun time. I appreciate you going out there. Table games and slots at Golden Moon and Silver Star. And then, you guys love the Axe as well, as we celebrate 30 years of Pearl River Resort over in Philadelphia, Mississippi. Scotty McCrary and Gary Allen are coming. The other thing is that as you pimp out your man cave, I said leave the 20% discount. 20% off everything but the new releases at newlifeart.com when you use the promo code Bama Tailgate. You guys are using that promo code, and I appreciate you so much for doing it. But pimp out your man cave like I have mine. Roger Schultz was in here the other day, and he's like, you don't have any more room for Daniel Moore prints. And I'm like, no, I don't. I've got the championship prints, and then I've got Antoine Petway, my favorite. So you guys do the same thing. Check it out. I got to thank Brett for the Petway print. It was a blockbuster trade that we made. And that one sits in here so proudly. All right, when we come back, Brett takes over. So don't go anywhere.
They call him Big Sexy. Coming at you from the Walker County. Jasper is his hometown. He's known for giving free rundowns. Oh, Big Sexy. Throwing out those Alabama thoughts. Sneaking out your mom's window without getting caught. Nick gives you the XPs, but Big Elmo is here to please. Big Sexy Elmo on the Bama Tailgate Show.
All right, today is the 10th day of October, and celebrity birthdays. We got a few that we can mention here. Singer David Lee Roth, Van Halen, 70 today.
Dude, Van Halen is a great example of a dynasty that made it with different leadership.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's a band dynasty, but Van Halen, it was like they just throw in a Sammy Hagar. Hey, he can do it. David Lee Roth, he can do it. They had another guy, the guy at the end, and they had hits with all those different lead singers.
Yeah.
Which is really phenomenal, but no one shredded the guitar like Eddie Van Halen. And then it's funny when you hear all the dysfunction of the Van Halen behind the scenes. But what a cool name for a group. David Lee Roth, Diamond Dave, just like the perfect lead singer in a band. I mean, no doubt about it.
Country singer Tanya Tucker, 66 today.
Okay.
If you're looking for something to celebrate, today is World Egg Day.
I was on the carb diet, Brett. You know this years ago.
Yeah.
Now I haven't done it lately, but it was like eggs every day. And I loved them at first, but there's only so many times and ways you can eat eggs. Like it'd be like scrambled eggs, and then it would be like deviled eggs, and then it'd be like eggs over easy. And then, I mean, there's a lot of recipes, but then you get to the point where you're like, man, I just can't eat another egg. Although I think they are about as close to the perfect food.
What's your favorite style of egg cooked?
Oh man, my great grandmother used to make deviled eggs, and I mean,
oh my God,
dude, they were absolutely amazing. I don't know how she knew to put the right ingredients in there, but you couldn't. I mean, I could just sit there and eat them all day. I loved them so much. I watched her make them, and I was like, "Well, how do you make them?" And she's like, "You put this in here and this in here." And she never didn't have a recipe. I mean, it was just like she just knew. How about you?
Look, deviled eggs and me. I'll fight at Christmas and Thanksgiving. My brother is the same way, and we will fight. And my mother has to fix like so many of them that we won't fight. Because it's like I will cut you.
Do you like bacon on them? Do you like different stuff?
Yeah. Now see, yeah, that's good. But yeah, that's that deviled eggs, and then of course I like normally my eggs scrambled.
Okay.
I like omelet, which is good.
Love omelets too. I started going to a lot of omelets towards the end of that diet.
Yeah. Today is also World Mental Health Day.
Man, this is a big one, and I've got some friends that have. Well, first off, I had a friend that committed suicide. That was the bar owner at Boo Radley's, where I bartended in college, and he was a great guy, and I learned a lot from him. And one of those people where as I've kind of gotten more into doing business on my own, a lot of things that he taught me just as a bartender at his bar apply to the different businesses that I'm in now. And I miss him, and he lived down here in Mobile, and I hate it. I hated it when I knew that he had some issues, but I honestly, I regret not being more involved. And, but you try, cause you never know, but mental health is a big deal. And, I think that this is a good day, just to try to bring awareness to and tell stories like this, because maybe you're preventing someone from making a bad decision because, and that's it affects your family so much, but there's a lot of help for this now, Brett.
Yeah. I mean, I suffer from it. I mean, I'm not ashamed to say it, and it's a battle a lot of times, but it's something to get through. This day in history. A couple things I want to hit on. Sunday Morning Coming Down by Johnny Cash peaks at number 1 in 1970. I love that song.
Yeah, I do too. We lost Chris Christopherson. He wrote the song. And I've been talking about this a little bit. I saw The Highwaymen, which is still one of the crowning achievements of my concert goings and I knew at the time that it was like, this is going to be special. And there's only one Highwayman left, and that's Willie Nelson. So,
that's right.
But I would watch these interviews, they pop up on social media, and Chris Christopherson, now that he's passed, you see some stuff. And one time there's one of these interviews, and he's standing there with the Highwaymen and Johnny Cash, and somebody brings that up, and Johnny Cash is like, I play this song that everybody thinks I wrote it because I've kind of become one of my own. And and I think he said something about maybe being one of his favorite songs. And Chris Christopherson was just like, man, that just made my day. I mean, that made my year. I didn't know that, Yeah. I think Johnny Cash talked a lot, and I think Chris Christopherson really admired him. And then I saw another interview where it was like the same thing. Chris Christopherson said that one of his favorite song was one that Johnny Cash wrote, So I think sometimes in business, you get around people that you're friends with, you work with, and what makes a great relationship is when you admire someone that much that you work with. But it's a great song. Reminds me of my dad every time I hear it, because he was a guy that was known to party it up pretty good on Saturday and then be paying the price on Sunday.
I think we all have been there, Mick.
Some more than others, Brett.
Yeah, that's true. That's a look at this day in history.
Hey, thanks for hanging out with us, guys. Have a great day. And don't forget, the Tailgate show will be at Innisfree. Jake Coker and me. I don't think Big Sexy will be there in person, but he'll be there in spirit. 1 to 4 this Friday as we record the radio show for Saturday. So come by and see us if you want. It's always great to see all you guys. Thank you for being part of what we're doing here, and Roll Tide.